Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I call this one General Strike. Yes, I know that a general strike is something that is really about the labor movement. It literally means that we have a strike of working people, that is, they refuse to work, but it's not working people in this or that industry. It's not working people for this or that employer. It's all working people. That's why they use the word general. It's a general strike of everybody. It shows you that the workers have a common issue and that they are determined to use their most powerful weapon, namely the refusal to do the work without which nothing's going to get produced. They want to now do it on an economy wide level, and that's why it's called a general strike. They have happened throughout the history of capitalism when the working class was angry enough, abused enough, bitter enough to mobilize itself across different employments, different jobs, different regions, and pull off a general strike. Why am I talking about that with you today? Well, for several reasons, general strikes or things quite like them are popping up now in the world in very diverse places for different reasons, but there's something going on. And toward the end of this short message, I'll tell you what I think that is. But let me begin. Last month, September, when this is being made, the French had a general strike. Now, it was unusual because it was called more by political parties and angry civilians, if you like, consumers, workers, and not so much by labor unions. But there was more than one day when there was the call out, and then the unions later on did participate. So it's close enough to be called a general strike. Across the country of France, estimates of 2 to 4 million French people. That is an enormous number. It would be in virtually any country, but remember, France is a much smaller country than the United States. 2 million people would be stunning in the United States. It's that much more stunning in France. They had a slogan, bloquons tout in French, which means let's block everything. And that's the kind of spirit that a general strike always has. It's when all the workers stop working, stop producing the goods and the services that the society depends on. It's a reminder of who does the work, not the supervisor, not the foreman, not the executives who sit in the offices pretending most of the time. No, no, the real workers, the ones standing all day, the ones in front of the machines, the ones being supervised. You know, that polite word for being hassled. So a general strike happened in September in France. And what was the demand of this strike? Very clear. The president of the country, Emmanuel Macron, had proposed, not for the first time, to deprive French citizens of a portion of the pensions they had paid into, committed to, passed laws guaranteeing. He wanted to change it all. He wanted to say you had to be 2 years older to be eligible to get it. That would deprive people, as they reach pension age, of 2 years that they were getting now and have been getting for many years. They would now not lose those 2 years because they wouldn't be eligible until they were 2 years older than used to be the rule. And the French people said, we don't want you to solve the economic problems you created and the business class of this country created by sticking it to us. We're the victims here. We're not the cause of the problem. And the rich, of course, don't care about their pensions. They have private pensions and don't need what the government provides. So you're hurting the people who need it and giving a pass to the people who wouldn't miss it. That's an unacceptable arrangement. And so the general strike, which often happens, went from a particular issue, in this case, pensions, to the bigger issue. We want President Macron to go. We want a new, different government with a different policy. They did this twice in September. May have been at the very beginning of October. I don't remember the exact date. But it's close enough to be called a French general strike. But I promised you when I began that it wasn't only in one place, part of why it's a general topic. In the month of October, and in particular on October 3rd, the Italian people went on a general strike. There it began with the union, a particular union, the dock workers union, the working people who load and unload the ships in the port cities of Italy. Remember, Italy is a peninsula. It sticks out into the Mediterranean, so it has lots of ports. It's been an important shipping area for thousands of years. The dock workers said, we no longer will pick up the cargo or load the cargo on ships coming to or from Israel, having to do with the what they called the genocide in Gaza. In other words, this was a political general strike as well as an economic one. They weren't going to do the dock work, the union there, and they appealed to the other unions in Italy who felt strongly about what was going on far away in Gaza, not in Italy, in Gaza, to make it a strike that all workers would be called to join and would be directed against the policy of the government led by Meloni in Italy. And they had millions of workers go out, 2 different dates, shutting down Italy. The trains, the buses, all of it. The workers saying, no business as usual. Some issues are so important. And notice these are working people using their worker organizations, unions in particular, to make a political statement. Now, the third one, October 18th, here in the United States, where I'm speaking to you from. We had millions of people going out into the streets in every one of our 50 states, in virtually all of our cities, some huge, like in New York City, some modest, like in small towns, but millions of people saying that the conditions here in the United States are unacceptable for working people. The prices are too high, the wages are too low, the affordability of everything is out of reach. The governments, both Biden and Trump, promised to do all sorts of things to fix it, but it isn't fixed. We're staring at a recession coming down the pike literally any day. We are upset. And then we have a government that is taking away our political freedoms on top of it. No, said millions of people, we're going into the streets. It's not a general strike in the sense that the unions haven't called their people out. But it is more than another demonstration, and it's more than a regular strike. It's moving in the direction, like Italy, like France, to mobilize everybody as a worker, as a consumer, as a citizen, to demand big changes. Basically, the French general strike targeted their government of Mr. Macron, and the Italian general strike targeted their government of Ms. Meloni, and the American approximation of a general strike targeted Mr. Trump and his government. And then there was, and he deserves being called on this, there was the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, who called for a general strike against the government of Mr. Trump because he is a president who is proudly sending the American army into the cities of America to try to control the people there against the will of the democratically elected leaders of these cities. In fact, he picks out those that were elected by the other political party. A level of abuse of power that is bringing millions of people into the streets. A strike is an enormously important weapon. It's what's available to working people when every other effort, bargaining, negotiating, pleading, job action, grievance filing, all the mechanisms have been exhausted, don't work. The employer won't meet you halfway. Well, the strike is then what's left to the workers if they're not going to knuckle under and do and accept whatever the employer wants to dish out. They can withhold their labor, reminding the employer that if the workers don't work, your enterprise becomes nothing. The machines don't work by themselves. The problems don't get solved unless there are people solving them. Of course, it hurts the worker who loses his or her income. It hurts the workers who lose an important part of their lives. But it is a step workers take to make the point this really matters to us. And when it is raised to the level of a general strike, there should be a message learned. Something is going very wrong in the society. Millions of people feel that way. That has to be taken seriously. Now, of course, there are leaders who don't take it seriously. People, for example, who might put a crown on their head to make a video that makes it look as though they're defecating on the people who have come into the streets to show how concerned they are. Yep. But all that does, all it has ever done, is provoke those 2 million and the many million more who agree with them but didn't come out on Saturday to understand what they're up against. What kind of childish, bitter, hostile government reacts to the appeal of their own people for change in such a way. Leaders who do that usually discover, to their sadness, what comes. Macron is not long for his job. The French don't want him anymore, and everybody in France knows it. And Meloni lost a lot of the support she had by taking the position she did, scolding the millions of Italians who went to the streets because they're against genocide. Not good for her career at all. And the same applies to Mr. Trump. 20 seconds of a video that should never have been made will cost him, and it'll be much more than whatever weird pleasure he got from acting like an 11-year-old immature boy. The general strike is coming, and it tells us that the problems of our society are provoking mass action and reaction, and that's what's coming down the pike, not the fantasies of Mr. Trump, and certainly not the solution to the problems his policies have so far not solved, and nor is that in the future for us either, according to everything we can see. If commentary like this strikes you as useful, as something that should be part of our national discussion, of our situation, of our history, of our moment, then please share this video with friends, coworkers. That's why we make them. And of course, if you can help us defray the costs, the financial costs of producing and distributing these videos, we would be grateful for that as well. Thank you.